What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another special edition of Funk from the Front Seat as we kick off our June season right here. Been a lot going on. We are totally blessed, and we're going to keep it moving. We're going to be keeping it fast and furious today, as we have someone with us that is kind enough to share some of their amazing time. My friend, mentor and funk sister and family. Today joining the show along with Mark Lee and myself, Nancy Marie, award-winning author, and she's a producer and performing artist as well, activist, teacher, mother, beautiful queen, all the beautiful things that you can think of that encompasses a woman that's getting things done in 2025. And before we, bring Nancy on, she's backstage. She just beamed in. I sent one of my spaceships to get her so she could get here really, really fast. You know what I'm saying? Because I am from the future. So y'all just recognize, But, if you have any anniversaries, any birthdays, anyone that transitioned on this particular day or this week, just know that we care about you. We love you. One of my favorite artists of all time, Prince. Happy birthday, Prince. We love you. I'm rocking some purple for you. This is what it sounds like when doves cry, So we're going to be, keeping those thoughts and prayers for those people. And also I wanted to, for sure, just recognize, how like love is actually winning, and we can see it all around. Nancy embodies that spirit of, let's just keep it moving. And so, we're going to bring her on without any further ado. My friend, my sister, Nancy Marie is in the house. So y'all put your hands together out there. I know y'all are watching. Shout out to all our sponsors and everything, and we'll definitely get to you guys. But Nancy Marie is here with us, and she is joining us right now. Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good. How are you?
I know you're tired. I will send you all my energy that I
I
can.
need it. Come on, bring it.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. You know how we used to get going, and then something will trigger, and then I know it'll click in for both of us. So,
Yeah.
how are you doing? How is your family? How's everybody up there?
We're doing all right. We're keeping it moving.
Yeah,
We're not oppressed by the current situationship that we're
amen.
in. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
we are maintaining focus. We are, completing our assignments because that's what
Yes.
it's about. Um, some are collapsing and not doing what they've been placed on the planet to do. And
Yes.
um, now more than ever, this is the time. Now is the time to make sure that we are completing the assignment that we were sent here for. And I'm not going to sugarcoat, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's hard. In the midst of all the beautiful things that happened in May, May was a difficult month. Um, but sometimes we have to sit in the mess, in the mire, in the muck, and just be still, and let
Yeah.
it do what it needs to do because it's actually the fuel that we need to keep moving forward. And I
Yeah.
know sometimes it feels uncomfortable. It feels like, you know, am I certain that this is my assignment? This is what I'm supposed to be doing? And so we have to sit sometimes and be still and allow those things to do what they need to do to propel us.
Yeah. I like something you said right off the top. It hit me. Assignment. That's why you saw me look away. When you see me, I'm taking notes, right? Right away. Because, and believe it or not, this is true. I have every notebook that we've ever done
Mm,
from 5 years. So I go back sometime and reference, but it's kind of like my own little journal, for my artists and for myself, in case someone ever says, hey, what did I talk about that day, that Saturday? I can definitely go back and reference. So just for everybody out there that's watching, just know that I keep everything, meticulously, especially these notes, because this is like a, it's like a how the Egyptians used to write on the walls and everything. It's actually my
hieroglyphics.
personal
Yes.
hieroglyphics. So
Yes.
years from now, they won't know what this means, but they'll have to decipher and figure it out. You said assignment, and I like that word because we are all assigned. And a lot of times when I pray and I meditate, I thought about this myself. I was like, man, exactly what you said. God must have told you to speak to me in those terms this morning. Because I said, oh, I'm stuck in mud again. I don't like it. It's hot. It's sticky. I'm grinding, but it's like I wasn't getting anything done. And then the calm voice came over me and it said, be still, right? Just be still. I got you on it, right? And then I was reading some stuff. You know how you get these proverbs and things people saying and stuff. And it was like, it basically all said the same thing about what, like, oh, don't worry about economics. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that, because it's all been planned. But this is my assignment. So I thank you for saying that and sharing that with our audience. Excuse me, because I do got them allergy things popping in. When we think about assignments and for my audience that never met you, give us a quick few minutes about how you got into your playwriting and your artistic assignment, just for people that just met you.
Okay, so I don't want to say stumbled into it, because you never stumble into something, even though that's what it may look like from the outside.
Yeah.
But when I was a child, I was always the one doing choreography, putting together skits, doing things. I orchestrated this whole surprise birthday party for my mother in our backyard, where we put on costumes and we entertained her and her friends, things of that nature. And I remember one day being in my Aunt Nora's basement, and I don't know, I was performing something, I was doing something, and she said, "You need to be a writer." And being the child that I was, writer, be a writer,
right?
Be a writer. So, I wanted to be a star, like not a writer.
In front of the camera, right?
So, my mom had to go to California, and we're fast forwarding a couple of years. So I think I was about 11 at this time. My mom had to go to California, so I stayed in New York with my Aunt Nora, and my cousin Cheryl had an audition for this play. It was an off-Broadway play at the Public Theater called The Wedding Band. Ruby Dee, Albert Hall at the time, and Garrett Morris ended up taking over Al's role. Polly Holiday, just an amazing cast. And I had to go to the audition with Cheryl, and so Cheryl was doing her audition. She was laughing, joking, playing around, and Joe Papp and them were like getting a little aggravated with her. So Joe turned and said, "Let's give her a try," her being me. So I get up there, I do everything they asked me to do. Right. We get back home. I know it's a little salty, but she said, "You got the part." I was like, "Oh," So that was my first off-Broadway experience. And it was amazing because, I went to the theater every night. One day I'm in the green room sitting at the feet of Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. So I was in seventh heaven. And the show closed in February. And it was closing night. And I remember Ruby and Clarice Taylor, my Aunt Reese, and a couple of them in the corner, and they just, looking back at me, and I'm like, what's going on? So my Aunt Reese came over to me and said, "Go put on a costume. You're going to go on stage tonight." And they wrote a little part for me to come on stage so that I could have my official off-Broadway debut. So that was the kind of energy that I was surrounded by. It was like a family. It was just so beautiful. The days we spent at Ruby Dee's house, and it was just a remarkable time. So from there, I went to the High School of Performing Arts, fast forwarding a couple of years. Of course, I was involved in the arts in junior high school, was on the Chancellor's Roll of Honor and won a scholarship to the Hebrew School of Music to study voice and study at the Hughes Dance Center for Performing Arts. Got accepted to Music and Art and Performing Arts High School, and the acting won out over the music. So I went to Performing Arts and appeared in the movie Fame as an extra. From there, I went to LIU and got my Bachelor of Fine Arts with a minor in dance. And then I went to the University of Southern California to get my master's degree. And then I met a man on the E train and got married and ended up moving to Philadelphia. And some situations arose where I felt the need that all things creative had to stop. So I stopped doing anything creative so that I could take care of my twin daughters at the time. And time went on. I had a couple of more babies, and I literally felt like I was dying inside.
Yeah.
And I just heard this voice. It's like, it's an ultimate slap in the face with everything that God put in you for you to not be doing anything creative. And that's why I felt like I was dying, because I wasn't creating.
Yeah.
So I slowly but surely started rolling back into creativity. And of course, I started off with the writing, because that was something that I could do and still manage the household the way I needed to manage it. So I started back with the writing and the writing, writing plays for my church at the time, did a couple of powerful plays. One that got me crucified because it dealt with a young boy whose mother, it was a single mom household, and she would have to go on the road for her job. And she was leaving her 13-year-old son with her brother. Unbeknownst to her, her brother was abusing his nephew. And so on opening night, when I tell you droves of people got up and left after the first controversial scene and everything, and my pastor pulled me to the side afterwards and said, "You offended pastors. You did this. You did that." Da, 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 da. And I came home in a funk. I was pregnant with my 5th child at the time. Mm-hmm. And I just practically laid on the couch for days, unable to move, because I knew that God had given me this message in this play.
Right.
So when I finally got myself together and went back to church, I walked through the door, and this young man that I knew came to me and said, "I need to thank you because of what I saw in your play. I was able to go to my brother's grave and forgive him for what he did to me."
Yeah.
Zach, I was like, oh my God. Then this other woman came to me, and people just started coming to me. So I knew, okay, I'm not crazy.
Nah, right, exactly.
But see, at the time though, I was, how do you put this? How your fairy tale existence, right?
Yeah.
You have this like fairy tale happily ever after ending in mind, that this is going to be it, and it's going to put me in the forefront, and I'm going to be a star, and I'm going to be recognized all over the world. And the exact opposite happened. You know what I'm saying? It was like I was crucified, literally, like, wow. and almost gave up until those, when I went back. And those people started coming to me and telling me what they saw impacted them.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I get it. This road is not going to be easy. Yeah. The assignment is not to be a star. It's to write things and to perform in things that are going to motivate change. So, that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah. Boosie once told me, like, real stars have no name, they just shine. See? Now that's see, because to me, I see you and we see you as that, but a lot of times people don't know the road, less travel that people have to go through to give that gift back, which is very powerful, because that's, Eleanor Bonner once said, she's a writer that I, read, and she said the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose is to give it back. You know,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
whole purpose. And watching what you've done over, the past, since I've known you, and that's been a long time now, I'm always inspired because that's why this morning again, I always watch the things you send me at night, and then I watch them again in the morning so I can have a clear, fresh
Mm.
feeling for the show. And and I'm gonna bring Mark on for this in a little bit too. And we were watching the thing about the thing in Philadelphia.
Oh,
That
move.
yeah. Mark, you have that loaded up, right? That move thing, just to be sure. Just put me something in the private chat. Okay, you got it. Okay, great. I'll let you know when to run that, man. Then you can pop on. See, when I see stuff like that, and then I see you up on that stage, and your expression and your anger, and
Mm.
you're along with everybody else, you're definitely meant to be up there. I mean, there's no place else for you to be. If you ain't up there, the world is topsy turvy. That's all I can tell you.
Wow.
So you're supposed to be right there. It's such a natural, blend. Um, so when you were growing up and you were working on your craft and honing your craft, um, what were some inspirations and people? Because I always tell you, to me, every time I see you, and this is a tribute, because I named my youngest daughter, we did actually, Maya, right? And for Maya Angelou, right? And I see her halo always around you, and I always tell you that. I was like, you remind me so, and I've never personally met her, right? I think Mark has, but you just remind me of that glow, that all encompassing, strong Black woman leader. Just like banging down doors, man. Did you ever be inspired by some of her works or anything that she did?
In fact, I did, and I actually wrote this song called "The Torch."
Uh huh.
And there's a line in the song that says, "Every battle that is won must be fought. Every lesson that is learned must be taught. Maya learned why the caged bird sings. Didn't she rise? Didn't she rise again?" So, yeah, I was very, very touched and inspired by her work. And Nikki Giovanni was another one.
Oh God, yes.
Um, Once I read Ego Trip and it was over. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say some of our younger people are now falling back to a lot of those writings and teachings, and it's because of persons like yourself that continue to keep it alive. Like we say, keep the funk alive. You're keeping the funk alive over there with what you do, and as well as your crew.
Yeah.
Who are some of the people lately that you've been working with? I know I see a lot of people. I don't know a lot of them, but can you share some short stories of some of the amazing people before we start running down some of your short clips you sent us?
Okay. So, Ontaria Kim Wilson was we actually worked together on the gospel adaptation of The Wiz, which was called The Gate Called Straight, which was directed by Stephanie Mills.
Whoa.
I was one of the writers of the script and was tapped to be the director. What happened was LaShawn Pace was supposed to play a role, and Tyler Perry would not release her from her contract. Even though she wasn't doing anything at the time, he would not release her to come to Philadelphia until like 2 days before the premiere. So, the production team started scrambling. Bill Jolly, who was the musical director, said, well, I can reach out to Stephanie Mills and see if she would, take the role. So he did. And Stephanie said that she wasn't interested in acting anymore, but she would be interested in directing.
Right.
So they brought Stephanie in to direct, and they moved me to the role, which was like what was one of the biggest blessings. I actually was able to bring Sarah Dash from LaBelle in to play opposite me. So she played my mother. I was Mrs. Blocker, who was the equivalent of the Wicked Witch of the West. So, baby, it was an amazing experience. We did the show at the Leah Chorus Center. And when I switched to the acting role, there was a lot of choreography. And I have never been one like, I can dance, but I don't get stuff right away. It takes me some time. So I was really like jacking up some major stuff. And Ontaria was the one who pulled me to the side, and she worked with me and made sure I had everything. So from that point on, which was back in like 2012,
right,
I called her teacher from that point on. And we've been doing a lot of stuff together. And so she was the director of this whole move stage reading. And her story is interesting because she was a 10-year-old child that lived in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And she shared her experience where she was saying she was looking in the sky at this helicopter, and she saw what she thought was a purse being dropped from, and she told her mom, said, "Mommy, they just dropped the purse from the helicopter." And the next thing you know, the bomb was, flames everywhere, and the whole neighborhood was destroyed.
For those of us that are not aware, what was MOVE and what was the purpose of it? What was it about? Like,
MOVE was an organization that believed in pretty much, going back to nature. They lived outside of the system, and they all lived together. So their original house was in the Powelton Village section of Philadelphia. And because there were issues there, and Mayor Rizzo had a bunch of them locked up. I can't remember exactly how many, but it was close to 20 of the MOVE members were locked up for the murder of one police officer in the first confrontation. Right. So then they moved over to the Osage Avenue area, and their belief system or whatever, it was causing a lot of problems with the neighbors because, they didn't believe in killing anything living. So, rats, roaches, whatever, running amok in the neighborhood. One lady had went out to hang her laundry one day, and this whole maggot nest fell into her hair, just different stuff. So there was a lot of back and forth between the neighbors and those living in the MOVE compound. Sometimes they would get on the bullhorn late at night and just scream obscenities and different things, and causing the neighbors not to be able to rest. So what happened was, there was a final confrontation where the police came in, and with the intent of getting them out of this house or whatever. So they began shooting water into the house, flooding the basement, and it just escalated and until they finally dropped the bomb on a house where they knew there were explosives in the house. So it was just, and the crazy thing was,
from a New York perspective, we heard about that, but we never quite knew the real story. And New York and Philly is like that. It's the same place, really, So we never quite, and this is the first time I've actually heard the actual real story. Because even back then, when this was going on in 85, I think it was, right?
Because 40 years,
Yeah, 85. Yeah, like we still weren't getting the full truth, just like we still ain't getting it now, And all we saw was
No, I was just about to say, I was just learning because I was actually flying into Philadelphia from California when all of this was going on. I was just moving to Philly. So I really didn't get to learn the details for real. until I agreed to become a participant in this project.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the first reading of the script, it was heartbreaking. The playwright, Maida Odom, who was a reporter with the Philadelphia Inquirer at the time and was assigned to cover this MOVE story, she was in the room, and every now and then I would just glance over my shoulder, and you could still see the pain and the impact of what she experienced, because she was in the house across the street from the MOVE house when all of this was going on. And by the grace of God, they got her out of the house minutes before the bomb was dropped.
Yeah, you know, and like I said,
so it was just,
thank God,
it was crazy.
Yeah, thank God you shared this with us, and we're going to share this with our audience now, because I wanted to kick off with this, because a lot of stuff that then is actually now, you know, it's almost like we're in that loop, that continuum, where it's like we know these issues always happen and always do happen and always will happen. And we're going to try to continue to fix these things. We lost Nancy for a second. We had to drop out, but we'll get her back. But we're going to try to solve some of these things. We're going to wait for Nancy to come back while we're hanging out today. You know, Nancy Marie, you know, award-winning author and producer, performing artist, activist, teacher, you know, and all these good things, because, you know, all of the things that we're talking about right here, she has a big hand in and plays a big part in that community. And that was one of the things I wanted to get, you know, to talk to you about, is how you guys and you know, everything you've been involved with is always so community based. You're not thinking about all of this stuff. The egos are always put aside, most of them. I remember last time you were here and you was telling us about the play that was in the park, and, you know, the gentleman and young lady, and you know, you have these amazing stories. First of all, you're an amazing storyteller, so I appreciate that. That's probably why you're right. You're right. And just for my audience, there's a difference between writing songs and writing stories. It ain't the same. It just ain't the same. You know, I could slap
Not
a story on the
anymore.
phone, be like funk, you know, but writing, whoo.
Well, see, writing songs back in the day, I always told my mother that I was born a decade too late. I should have been writing my songs during the Motown era, because, you know, back then it was like you were getting a 3 to 5 minute story. And my first writing experience with one of my writing partners, who, well, I could say his name because I've told this story before. Ron D. Miller had hired me to write a couple of tracks for him, right? And so one of the tracks I wrote, it was called Escape. And it was the story of this young lady who was trying to get out of a domestic violence relationship. And I just knew, like, oh, this is it. You know what I'm saying? So I submitted the song to him, and he called me everything but a child of God. He was like, this is a piece of crap. Don't ever submit anything like this to me again. And my feelings was hurt, because I know that song was amazing to me. So he's like, you take this track back and you write it over. Okay. I said, I'm going to fix you. I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to write the most meaningless piece of whatever, you know, parties. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I did. And so I handed it back to him. And I hate to say it. God knows I hate to say it. But that became my first #1 dance hit record on Billboard. Take a Chance, Nuance featuring Vicky Love. And I was like, but why? I was supposed to be teaching him a lesson.
Right.
I know you taught you a lesson, because, baby, you're not back in that era where people wanted to hear the stories. But I thank God when the true era of rap and hip hop came about, where that storytelling element did make a comeback.
It had
you know
to.
What I'm saying?
It had to. It had to. You know, and I'm grateful for that too, because, you know, because see, to me, when I was listening to the Sly and the Family Stone stories and the Hendrix stories and the
Ooh,
Mother's Finest,
yes.
so you know when that and the Motown, when all of that was popping, I was just downloading. I was like, okay, I know for the next 5 years I gotta really focus because these people are very gifted. I didn't realize until I got a little bit beyond 10 or 11 or 12 that okay, when I saw Ashford and Simpson and then their stuff come out, I was like, but I kept seeing their names on all the Motown stuff. And I kept
Right.
seeing who's this Ashford and Simpson person? Who's this Ashford and Simpson person, right? And then people realized like, oh, that was them. And then they came out with their own thing. But the way that they were telling those stories, I mean, even all the way to the stuff they did with Diana Ross, everybody that they wrote for. When I listen to them as a duo, I happen to be like, all right, they're like to me the number one writing duo. Peaches and Herb was great. Tammy and Marvin was great. Marvin, great story. But Ashford and Simpson, they made you feel quick, like inside, like all. And then you look back on all the stuff that they did and their writing skills. And I was fortunate to work in their club 2020 once. They weren't there, but just in their aura, I was like, okay, I'm in the aura. I can take the aura with me, Okay.
No, I was just about to say I actually got to go to their house a couple of times.
Okay.
First time, because you know who my sister is, Debbie McDuffie, the first African American female music producer, composer, arranger in the advertising industry. She was responsible for her first campaign was the Hilltop campaign. I like to teach the world to sing.
Right.
That was her first campaign that she worked on coming out of college. She was very close friends with Nick, rest in peace, and Val. And so I was tasked a couple of times to, babysit Nick and Val's daughter, Nicole, or take Nicole and my nephew, Kijana, to the circus or whatever. And then when we did a tribute during the African American Literary and Media Conference in Reno, Nevada, we honored my sister for her work in the advertising agency. And we actually got to go to Nick and Val's house to record their piece of the tribute to Debbie. And Val and Nick Val, of course, playing the piano and singing, and Nick, they actually sang Ain't No Mountain High Enough for Debbie. And it was just like, capturing that moment on film, sitting in their living room on this grand piano and, watching that unfold in front of me. I was like, yo, this is crazy. So yeah,
real quick,
that is real.
It feels like I'm having a power glitch in this building just in case. So if that happens, Mark is going to jump on.
I dropped out for a minute. I don't know if you noticed. I
did. Yeah. And I don't think that was that. I'm starting to see something else. I don't know if it's weather related, this area here. So it could be that, but I just saw the whole building go like that. So just for my audience, just so you know. But yeah, that just being in that presence, I know that was like, super, super groovy thing just to, those two to me. And I have all their music. I listen to it all the time, I want to get on to this vid. Mark, could you run that real quick for our audience? About what happened in Philadelphia, please, sir, and then pop on, because I know you had a few words you wanted to say about that as well. We're hanging out today, Nancy Marie, gracious enough to spend some time with us. So we got about 20 more minutes, then we're going to stop after an hour. But it's just amazing. So you ready, Mark? Go ahead, run that, bro.
Everyone in Philadelphia and beyond has a move story, and this is mine.
May 13th, 1985 is the day that the city of Philadelphia and the state dropped a bomb on the move home. It was one of the most horrific tragedies in the city of Philadelphia.
I was in a unique situation because I was writing for the Inquirer about it, and because I had been close to it from the beginning of May through the confrontation. So gradually I started writing about it.
stage is set with two. And I actually watched the bomb fall from the helicopter. I was a 10-year-old little girl. I heard noises on the outside. I called it a pocketbook. I'm like, hey mom, they just dropped a pocketbook from the helicopter. So for the past 40 years, I never knew all the intricate details of the whys and the whos that were all involved.
The play was written about 30 years ago, and it deals with the days leading up to the MOVE confrontation, specifically the night before, the day of, and then the aftermath, the Ramona Africa trial and beyond.
All the charges need to be lodged against the people who tried to kill me and my family.
I'm telling you, that's Pine Street. That's about 2 blocks behind us, but you can see the size of the flames. It's all out of control. There is no signs of any water from our location now. We are on the...
I was across the street from that house. There are little children in that house. Oh God, no!
Why didn't they put out the fire? Why don't they put out the fire? Why don't they put out the fire?
The difficulty is when you engage with a very radical group like MOVE. And I said to the people on a number of occasions, do you really know what you're asking for?
A lot of people don't know how mercilessly their neighbors were emotionally assaulted in the years that led to this.
Can't take it no more!
Cliff, did you ever believe it could come to something like this?
My God, no.
Would you reconsider now, considering what's happened here?
Not really. That violence was always around us.
Now, nothing justifies what they endured.
Somebody should at least stand up and say what happened was wrong.
The other thing to consider is the role media plays in sensationalizing situations and otherizing people. And I think what I learned most from all of this is when you sow seeds of hatred, you can't control how they grow.
Please don't talk to me about 1978.
Maida, this is MOVE. How else are people supposed to handle that?
Let them get into their places. For me, it's important to make sure that everyone is handled with care, with understanding, with dignity, and just understanding that this is a very complex and complicated story to tell, no matter what perspective you're telling it from.
Detail after detail, sensible stories. Organizing sensibly told stories that make no sense. And they make no difference. I can't make a difference. And I can't shut off my mind.
That's powerful. That is. Mark, you want to join us for a second? Because I know you had comments when you saw this.
Oh, yeah, definitely had comments when I saw that, because I remember it had actually happened just after I had gotten out of Marquette University back in December of '84. So I remember the year, because that would have been the '85 and everything along those lines. But one of the things that I was curious and I wanted to hear Nancy's thoughts about this is that, and I know we've talked about it on this show and I've talked about it on other shows before, this whole notion that all skin folks ain't kin folks. And I know that Wilson Good was definitely a brother that actually launched that attack and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on Wilson Good's role, because he was a brother from Virginia that went on to become the mayor of Philadelphia and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on that notion of all skin folks ain't necessarily kin folks. We've even seen that here as well.
I think Nancy froze. I'm not really sure.
I think Nancy froze.
Yeah. But like you said, Mark, you know, the amount of I guess, you know, backstabbing that goes on in cultures and you know, the amount of you know, misfortune that comes from that. You know, in all races, everybody backstabs, and it seems like our people have suffered from that a lot more when some people just don't get it. You know, and that was a powerful thing back then. And as soon as we get Nancy back,
she's back.
Yeah, you back with us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
okay,
you guys were like tapping in and out, and then I just lost you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
We're pretty good on this side, so I don't know
And it's
if it
starting to
could be the
happen
weather.
again.
Yeah, it could be the weather.
Yeah. Nancy, I don't know if you heard the question, but I was just talking about how all kin folks ain't kin folks, and I just wanted your thoughts on Wilson Good.
We're having some glitches for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The Matrix. I always blame that.
Mm-hmm.
She froze again. Maybe she has to reboot and go back out and come back in.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. But the process that they used reminds me a little bit of what they did with Waco and all. You know, it's like when the government really wants to mess with you, you know, they just totally mess with you. And not that it was good or bad what those people were doing, you know, with not killing and all. I don't really have an opinion on that part, but I know to drop a bomb in a neighborhood, a black neighborhood in the middle, you know, of like the 1985, and the date was actually May 13th. You know, that's some crazy stuff right there. I think back to what I was doing, you know, in 1985, you know, and it's like crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, we realize, yeah, something's not correct or whatever. I'm not sure why it's like that. On this side, we're pretty good. Maybe if you go out and come back in, maybe that'll help.
We'll see if she goes back in and comes back. Goes out and comes back in because she's gone right now and everything. But you know, this is not the first time that happened and all along those lines. Because you know, a lot of times people will remember Wilmington, which was way back in the early, like latter part of the.
She's back with us now, though, Mark.
Right.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. There was always something glitching. See, I said that's the Matrix messing with us.
Yeah, because this is an important conversation, so you know there's going to be some interference, but that's all right.
Yep, that's right. Go ahead, Mark. That's right.
What was your take? Because two things. One, I was remembering with the MOVE attack, the bombing of Wilmington. So this is not the first time that a city was bombed. And then I was wondering your take on also the Wilson Good, because as I was saying earlier, all skin folks ain't necessarily kin folks ain't necessarily kin folks. I think that's the way the quote goes and everything. And Wilson Good was mayor at the time, and he was a brother from Virginia that was the mayor of Philadelphia at that time. So I just wanted your take on his role in the bombing.
Well, truth be told, you know, Frank Rizzo was the one behind the initial, and Frank Rizzo was the one behind this, and Good was the puppet. Yeah. So, you know, in those political arenas, it's difficult being a Black person in charge because you're always going to become the fall guy, if you would. I wish that Good had, and again, I was new to Philadelphia, so I didn't know too much at that time. But having been here now for 40 years, and looking back and then learning some of the history and getting some of the inside information, I just wish that he had a network around him that would have allowed him to exercise more power, if you would, and not allow the powers that be to do what they did and then let him be the forward face of everything that happened. Because it's difficult being in charge, and if you choose to stand against the political game, you're going to be targeted. So that's my take. I've met Mayor Good on several different occasions, and you could tell spirit knows spirit, and I truly believe that he just didn't have the support that he needed to make a different decision. Right. Not that he made the decision, but what
bothers me a lot when we have certain leaders, and we all know corruption is not about race. It corrupts anybody could be corrupt. But what I'm always thinking about in the short term, I guess, is when we have a political minority person in a place of authority or power, it seems to me some Black people who were normally going to just not be as ornery end up being even more ornery. And I don't know, and I'm keeping it real. I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or if it's like, well, I'm gonna show you ain't my master. It's some kind of psychological thing.
It's the
right?
programming. It's the programming.
Yeah.
We have been programmed, from the days of Willie Lynch. It was all we have been wired to react that way. We react more positively to a white person in charge. And then when it's one of us, like the jealousy wells up, and we do everything that we can to make sure this person doesn't succeed. Right. And I read something interesting this morning, and I don't want to go to my phone because I might jack something up and disappear again. But the main thing that was said was that we were not initiated properly. All the rites of passage that Black men and Black women used to go through, we've been stripped of that. Mm-hmm. And in its place is this programming, the programming that we come from these television shows that we see. My God, like the Real Housewives and I can't even name a lot of that stuff. But it's programming, we receive the programming, but what's being done to our youth right now, it's man, we're 2025, 2045, there's going to be some scary stuff, bro.
You said that because it's true, and we talk about this, Kevin and I talk about this, you and I have talked about this, Mark and I talk about this, when we look at all of the stuff that's going on, with the algorithms, and Kayla's 21 now, Maya's 17, Zachary's 45 in Georgia, all the stuff that's going on with the algorithms, right? The kids, their phone is permanently attached to their hand. So that's part of the plan, right? They're basically doing everything in life with one hand, driving, eat, everything, one hand, right? So
partying.
I know.
Partying.
Yes,
this is the party.
Yes. I know that there's a way out of this thing. We just have to find it. And then some of us like yourselves have to lead it, I just don't know why so many of us can't fight that feeling, as Mother's Finest would say, because sometimes you see it. Black people don't really want to be acting up, but they, like you said, the programming them kicks in and they say, okay, well, I better do this now too, as opposed to, well, why don't we if you can't do nothing positive, right? At least just sit on the side. You don't got to be doing stuff. As the kids say, you're doing too much. You don't have to be doing anything sometimes, but you don't have to be doing negative stuff. You know what I mean? And it bothers me. And I'm glad that we have these snippets we're going to show. Mark, she's on the clock, bro. So we got to put up that.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I had a quick question, and it's actually based on what you just said and everything along those lines, because I'm a fan of the Black Theater Festival, National Black Theater Festival, now called the International Black Theater Festival in Winston. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Woody King several times and all along those lines. So I just wondered your thoughts on the importance of theater in some of these conversations. Because when I think of you as a theater icon and everything in that area of Philadelphia and all along those lines. But that's where I think of you and everything. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on Woody King, because like I said, that was a period, and you alluded to some of those. I did have the pleasure of meeting Ruby and everything. It was actually my mom that served on, I think, a couple of boards with Maya. So I only saw Maya in passing, so I didn't have as much of a direct contact, but I did have some surface contact, but I had direct contact with Mickey Grant and with Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis on several occasions. So I just wanted your take on the role of theater in some of these conversations.
Baby, that's it for me. The plays that I've been writing recently, I have vowed to, number one, address some of the trauma that we have experienced as a people while incorporating the history that the powers that be are trying to hide from us. So, of course, the first play that followed that model was The Bookstore. I did not win the Pulitzer, but I ain't mad because the young man that did win it, Brandon Jenkins Jacobs, for Purpose, which is currently on Broadway, another powerful civil rights story. It won, and it's up for several Tony nominations. So my hat's off to him. To be named in the same class with him is a privilege and an honor in itself. But, you know, The Bookstore, and I think I shared this with you all before, you know, it tells the story of the COINTELPRO operation that was launched against the Black-owned bookstores in 1968. Yeah. And it also incorporated a lot of the things that we're talking about today, the whole colorism aspect. There was one character, Grace, who was from Haiti, who would tell you in a minute that she's not Black, she's Haitian. So her whole relationship with a Black Panther literally fell apart because of her belief system and his belief systems not lining up. And in the middle of that triangle was their son, Theodore. So it, you know, it was really, you know, again, addressing the history and incorporating the trauma that people were experiencing going through those types of things. Yeah. The play that I just finished the first draft of is called Like the Oyster. Mm-hmm. And it deals with 5 generations of women in this household. And it is set in Sandy Ground, Long Island, which was the first continuously inhibited Black colony in the entire United States. I did not know that until I was researching something else and ran across that information. And I was like, wait, what? And I started, you know, digging more and doing more research about that place. So I was like, okay, well, I need to tell a story about this, you know? And so I incorporate the trauma that these women experienced from the time of the Great Depression up until when Maisie graduates from school, and during the era when the riots broke out at Kent State and a lot of universities decided to shut down the graduation ceremonies. So it travels through those time periods, and it tells the forward-facing story of the greatness of Sandy Ground, but it also uncovers the trauma that Black people had to go through living during those times in this place. So that's right. Theater is very important because, you know, a lot of kids nowadays will not read, but they'll sit and watch something. So, you know, we just had an experience when which August Wilson play was that? They did King Hedley. The Art and Theater Company did King Hedley, and they always bring high school students in for a matinee performance. And when I tell you, I wasn't there, but my friend Cash posted a video of these teenagers' reactions, and I experienced the same thing when we did Detroit 67. We went to one of the most notorious, horrible schools in the Philadelphia school district to do scenes from the play before we brought them in to see the play. And those kids gravitated to us, and the response to the play was enormous. So it's important that we keep theater alive. And that's why Trump is trying to, you know, defund everything, but he's not going to stop us, because if we have to go in the park and do it for free, that's where we're going to do it. If we have to, you know, pool funds, scale back on what to set, whatever we have to do, we're going to tell these stories, and we're going to make sure these stories get told. So
absolutely,
yeah, theater is very important.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that, like, since I'm from Long Island, our parents used to talk about that Sandy thing, but they never went in deep because, you know, it was mushmouth back in the 60s. But they used to always say every now and then I would be hearing like Sandy's what I'm thinking the beach, and they would say, oh yeah, this is part of it. And Long Island, people don't know, Long Island has a history of some very cruel things that were being done to Black people. And I know this for a fact. The doctor was finally found out that when women were going in for cancer screenings and pap smears and things, he was actually sterilizing them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fact. Because some people that I knew, their moms told them, like, this is what was happening. Don't go to this doctor. Don't go to that one. And I can't say those names, but I actually know some of the doctors' names because they were regular doctors. Bayshore is a small place. So it was only so many to go to. And a lot of women ended up like not being able to bear children, because of that fear that Long Island was going to become like Jamaica or something else because so many Black people were there, And I just wanted to add that. I want to show this one thing, though, Mark. You can stay up if you want. And thank you, Nancy, for hanging out a little bit longer with us. Right? I like this little clip because I thought it was cool. So I'm just going to show it.
Jeez, listen, why you ain't do joy like this? I ain't still your boyfriend.
I love it here. Yes,
I'm sure it is. Girls.
I just put my stocking on the fireplace.
Now that's definitely a gift from Black Child.
I want to give the before my sisters so my family can meet you first.
Now, girl, you know she ain't got no damn man.
Joya, chill.
I'm sure they gonna love me just as much as you do.
I'm glad you told them, because I'm getting ready to have a great Christmas.
I'm passing the bar and becoming a member of the prestigious Temple Law School alumni. We regret to inform you of a minor oversight.
This house is the last thing we got tied to my father.
I want to tell you guys all about Rent-A-Bed.
Up to $10,000 for one date.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
Who is he?
My new boyfriend.
And we want to thank you for this food that you've laid before us, especially Alicia's yam.
Amir was my doctor.
Yeah, this little thriller jacket got you acting real unusual.
Baby, somebody rented me.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Damn! It's a Christmas gift.
Boy, I'll marry you with that big ass rock.
What's the deal, Playboy? Season's greetings, I said.
And have some self-respect for once.
Respect these, Chucky.
Speedy loves your eggnog, Mom. But is that a little bit too much? Santa Claus doesn't have to be white.
Y'all don't even believe in white people.
On Christmas? Damn it, we taught y'all better than that.
Family needs family forever. You the oldest, you ready to go?
I have made sure that this mortgage has gotten paid for the last 20 years. I always find a way.
Oh, y'all know how I feel. Can't get nothing if you don't give something, say it.
Can't get nothing if you don't give something.
You will feel it in your heart, your mind, your soul, and your little coochie.
You don't mind? I think I just had a Christmas angel whisper in my ear.
Hit it, babe. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Hit up every shiny nose. What?
That felt good.
Can we say great day?
Somebody want to catch me up on what's going on here?
Hey, hello to you too.
You name it. Come on, man. Take care of my man.
So dramatic.
You're so single.
So have a Merry Christmas. Everybody's giving
You was going at him with that, yo. I saw that, man. I was like, nah, that's proper. I tipped the hats off to that. Cause let me tell my audience about that.
Christmas Bay. So for those of you who are aware of the whole Work Bay series, so the series is produced by Kyrie Terrell, amazing filmmaker. It started off with Work Bay and then Work Bay 2. Christmas Bay is actually the third installment in that Work Bay series. And the next one that they just had the premiere for is called Rent-A-Bay, which is actually the prequel to Christmas So it's the story of, this family, everybody's coming home for the holidays. And one daughter, she is tired of, getting the, where's your boyfriend, so she, I'm sorry, Joya is the one. She just broke up with her boyfriend. So she goes to Rent-A-Bay to rent this guy. Hitman Holler, who plays the role, he signs up for Rent-A-Bay to be a Rent-A-Bay. He's actually dating Joya's sister. And so Joya ends up renting him and bringing him to the house. So it's just a whole mess. That was such a fun project. I play Mama Gail. And I don't know if you noticed, Little G played my son-in-law. Again, Hitman Holler, Dwayne Finley, what page is 15 all from The Wood? He was in it. So it was just an amazing, fun movie, and it will officially be released for streaming during the holiday season of 2025. Unfortunately, the filmmaker wasn't able to get the license for it to be released on TV for this holiday season, and he didn't want it to come out, in the summer or whatever. So he's going to hold off and release it during the holiday season. But it is a fun movie, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. It was a fun role for me. It was really a fun role for me. So
see, now we break every now and then, we break stuff on this show. So y'all see that official trailer that's not even out yet. So you tell me Funk for the Front Seat ain't banging. That's why when I get goosebumps, because there's no way that I'm supposed to be doing this, and yet I'm doing it. So it's I'm just so grateful, because again, this is the fun part, And when I saw that, I watched it a few times just so I could see you go at them. And then, your acting skills, let me tell you, it's no joke. You are no joke. Mark, any thoughts or comments on that before we run the next short clip?
No, that was a great film. And like I said, I was definitely looking forward to seeing the full film, because I was laughing even at Nancy's dance moves and everything along those lines. So I was having
doing the
clips and everything like that. But yeah, it was a fun movie. So definitely looking forward to seeing that when it gets released on the streaming platforms. I know how it can be.
And I actually have some guest appearances in the music video that's on YouTube now, so you can see some of the clips on that video as well. I'll send you guys the link for that. But yeah, it was so much fun and great cast to work with. And yeah, if you audience members, if you're into acting and you ever see a post to submit to Focus Studios, take it from me. And I've been in this business for over 50 years. Focus Studios is a company to work for. They treat their actors right. So definitely submit, because they're phenomenal. They are phenomenal.
I love it, because I'm like, I know her. I know who that is. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's a closeness that I see with your ensemble and your cast and the people that work with you. There's a genuine love there. And independent is the way to go. That's the way God is going to allow us to lead, the creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's how we're going to be able to lead people out, by saying, listen, he's doing what he's doing because he took the grants from here. The portal's closed. He closed the portal. And as God would have it, I was able to get another one to do what I need to do, right? And y'all will hear about that later. But I can't do nothing but just applaud everybody that's pushing their own visions, their own thoughts. I posted something the other day. It's like, just be yourself. Don't chase your own dream. That's what I said. I said, please chase your own dreams. Don't spend time dreaming, chasing other people's dreams, dreaming about their dreams. And you are actually doing it. And that's what I'm so happy. I'm going to show this next one because this is kind of cute too. So let's look at this one. Zebra. The zebra is the one that gets me. That's why I always like to watch it. Because something about a zebra is just funny anyway. Tell us about that. What is that about?
Okay, so House of Wonder is a production of Black Education Station, which is the first streaming TV station dedicated to the educational needs of Black children between the ages of preschool through 5th grade. So they got a group of content creators together to do this series. Kind of formatted it after what was going on with Sesame Street and the Electric Company.
Yeah.
And so, we put this episode together, this show, I should say, together, just teaching different concepts all in one program. But there are many other shows on Black Education Station that are produced by content creators across the world. We have content creators from Africa, anywhere in the United States. So BES, I sit on the board. I am one of the members of the board, and also now a content creator. My episode is called Grammy's Room, where we recite our alphabet, spell a word, and then talk about what it means. So that's my character, and it's a fun thing to do. Yes, Mark.
No, two things. One, I love that shirt that you had on and everything about we need Black teachers. And yes, we do need more positive role models among our teachers that look like us and all along those lines. But the other thing that I was curious about, and it actually comes back to the civil rights conversation and everything like that, is I'm thinking that y'all will have some history lessons on this particular network as well, because I am a historian by trade, among other things and everything, and also an event consultant. But I do know that there are sometimes we forget we're so much on the Black Wall Streets of the South, meaning Tulsa, Rosewood, and of course Durham, North Carolina, and Wilmington. We forget about the Black Wall Streets there in the Northeast, because Central Park was a Black Wall Street, and I know there were Black Wall Streets in Philadelphia as well. So I just wondered if you had some thoughts around that, because I sometimes think we forget the Black Wall Streets of the Northeast.
Mark, before she answers that, could I ask just where's that based out of? That company?
Most of the team is in Atlanta. I'm the only one in Philadelphia.
Just so my audience would know. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Most of the team is in Atlanta, but our content creators are spread out again across the nation, and we have some in Africa as well.
Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you, but I just wanted to get that out.
No problem. So your thoughts about the need for Black teachers and also the lack of knowledge about the Black Wall Streets there in the South, in the Northeast.
Well, again, that's the information that they're trying to suppress. Even the more now, they're trying to erase us. And so a part of my assignment is to make sure that this information comes back to the light, stays in the light, that it gets passed down to the generation behind me, so that the light workers and those who are assigned to keep it alive have the information that they need, because they can suppress it all they want. But eventually, just look at what's going on now with everything that Trump is trying to push down. It's almost like, you're pushing against this surface, not recognizing that stuff is rising up out of the sides, right? The stuff that you're trying to hide, it's going to rise, because that's what pressure does. Unless you have pressure points all sides, it's going to leak out somewhere. A little bit is going to drip from down here, and somebody's going to catch it. So we have to keep these stories alive. And that's why I participate in things like the Black Education Station and the Black Male Educators Convening. That's where that particular shirt came from. Sharif El-Mekki, shout out to him and his organization and all that they do to support Black educators and make sure they have what they need to move forward. So yeah, we have to tell these stories, and we have to keep digging, because the information is out there.
That's right. And you know what? We need that what you have in Durham here, because Mark and I are sitting on a few things and we're constantly trying to push it. There are a lot of great people here in North Carolina. Don't get me wrong. They really are. They're really trying really, really hard. But it just seems like it's a slower process because people move slower in the South. And that's always the issue that I have. It's not like we're not getting it done. It's just that the pace that it's on, we're in a race with a dude that's trying to erase us. So it's like the tortoise, we're like, okay, we got to keep up because this dude is literally going through the landscape, just chopping everything in sight,
But the pace is not a hindrance. The pace is what it's supposed to be.
Right.
He's moving at Mexico. You have to be mindful of the region that you're in and how they operate. And you have to make that adjustment because you were called there because you're there, right?
I know.
So it's just something where you just have to, kind of tune in and sit with it and make the adjustment because at the pace that he's running, he's going to burn himself out.
Yeah, I think so.
But what cannot afford to happen is we can't have you burn out on your portion of the assignment. So you have to kind of sit in that space that we were talking about, that quiet space, and get the signal that you need to make the recalibrations that will be needed for you to operate in the space that you're in, to the point where the people can catch on to your energy and then you can be able to accelerate the pace. But right now you have to meet them where they are. Otherwise you're going to lose them.
And thank you for saying that, because sometimes I need to be reminded of that as a New Yorker that had that go all gas, no brake. And now here I'm like, but when I speak to you and Mark and people like yourselves that are involved in high levels of trying to recalibrate and reprogram, every now and then a person like me needs to hear it, because it's my nature as an Aries to burn quickly, fast, on fire. And it's like a lot of times when I see other things happening, I'm like, man, if only, but we're doing some things here. And I guess, like you mentioned, it is the right pace for this region. And I will for sure, sister, keep that in mind, because a lot of times we need to hear things just to remind us, like just to edge us back over in our lane a little bit. But, it's cool because, you're an inspiration, man. And it's like, when I see the things that you're doing, I'm like really, really, I'm just like so happy for you. I'm going to show this too. And Kevin had a comment. We're going to read this one, and which I really, really like. The oppressor will never finance your liberation. And that is so true. And actually, Kev, you're right. To add on, he's doing things that making it even harder. Like, I don't want cryptocurrency. I never had it, and I'm not going to use it. I don't even know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
And you best believe if the oppressor finance is something that you're doing, it's going to come with a heavy price tag. So, be mindful of that.
One of our supporters from Seattle, Cindy. Hi, Cindy. How you doing? Yes, keep the stories alive. One can try to erase the past, but history is the truth. And that's my funk sister over there. Boom, I love you, Cindy, because you're coming in, dropping the P-Funk. And Kevin had another one, which I really thought was really cool, because, Kevin and I always think alike anyway. And we was talking about, this line from Public Enemy, every brother ain't a brother, because a black hand squeezed on Malcolm X and the man, and Public Enemy, I still listen to them every day. Fear of a Black Planet, one of the greatest CDs ever. That's in my playlist regardless,
Exactly.
Yo,
that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, because I know that even with some of the Black Wall Streets, and I'm sure that Nancy can relate to this as well, that when they ran highways through, or when they did bombings, or when they did a number of other things, that sometimes it was the brothers that actually took the money and ran with it. So sometimes there were folks that were actually enemies from within. And I think that's what Kevin was referring to, because there were definitely enemies from within as well.
Yeah. And like Nancy said, we need reminders. That's why we do this show. We all support each other. So we need reminders of how. And I know one of my sponsors, Cindy, with her and I talk, we got some things coming up, and you would definitely love her, Nan. She's so like us, a light worker in the highest regard. And, you'll see a show later on this month with her and some things we're going to do. But, just talking to people that actually have a love of what they do is a gift. And you truly are a beautiful queen and a gift. I want to show this with because I just want to make sure I get all the stuff that you sent in, because this is important. So we're going to watch this. Y'all check this out. Nancy Marie, Phones from the Front Seat. What can I say?
Sean has been incarcerated for months.
Yes, he has.
The DA has not presented a discovery. Yes, plus, there's no weapon.
Ain't no justice.
So they have an innocent black man rotting just so they can eat off of us?
Since I became DA in Philadelphia, the murder rate has decreased and the conviction rate has increased significantly. You're looking at 15 years. It's a slam dunk case, and that is if you get a judge that does not look at your priors. By the time you get out, you will be an old ass man.
But Deshaun has no record besides a petty weed case he got a day before he turned 18.
Were you with Deshaun Brown the day that Amir Jones was murdered?
What you mean?
The defendant will be held without bail.
Ooh-wee. That bitch bad. Yeah, I'm gonna get a taste of that. How long you think she gonna last?
Because I'll do whatever I have to do. I mean, if I have to sell this house, I will. Hello? Hello?
Mm. 5 stars. So tell us about that.
Man, dear mama, that was my first leading role in a film. It's just released 2 weeks ago, maybe, on Tubi. It tells the story of a mother and her son. Her son is a trap rapper who is accused of murdering a young man who was a rival rapper. There are allegations of gang associations, and the mother just basically fights for her son's life. There are many twists and turns in this story. It's an amazing story by Tiana Brown, and very important. Tiana's brother was in the production, and he was actually murdered a couple of days before we had the film premiere. So it was tragic that the story she told to tell actually became her life story. It was almost prophetic. So we are doing, again, the movie is out on Tubi now, available for view on Tubi, and it will be on Amazon Prime soon. But we are doing a free screening for the youth here in Philadelphia next Saturday, just to make sure that this message gets out there. There'll be a panel with Senator 215, who is one of the most awesome rappers here in Philadelphia. He just did a joint project with Philly Freeway. And in fact, the title song from the film, Take It From Me, which he sampled Donny Hathaway's song, Someday We'll All Be Free, is the tune that he sampled for that song. It's one of my favorites. So we'll be chopping it up with the youth, because this trap music and the violence that is occurring due to the trap music it's horrendous, and we need to talk about this because, of course, forward facing, all the youth see is the stacks of dollar bills and the bling and the women and, you know, the this, the that, the third. They don't see, you know, the violence that's going on behind the scene. Or no, let me take that back. They do see it, and they think it's glamorous, you know, and that's tragic. That's tragic to think that, you know, packing heat and taking somebody's life is glamorous. So,
you know, and like Mark mentioned, and like you mentioned, and Kev and Cindy, and so many other people that are understanding how the whole cabal has been playing the long con game since like forever, you know, and you know, it's a product of so many different facets that it's like plugging a hole in the dike, and then you got another hole here, and every time we plug one, there's a new one that these people have been setting up for years, you know, and now the music to me right now is such it for that set is so frightening. I have a lot of young people, and when I'm working, I turn them on to stuff, and they're like, "Wow, that's really cool." And I can see them sitting when I'm driving Uber in the back of the car, just listening as we taking this long ride to a song that's telling, like you said at the top, we circle back, a story, as opposed to Earth, Wind, and Fire singing about that's the way of the world, or they're singing Shining Star. They're singing positive into you, and the good spirits that are out there soak that up. A lot of young kids have been pre-programmed that that's bad. They can't smile. They're not supposed to laugh. They're not supposed to feel good about listening to music. It's only designed to make them feel anger, resentment, hatred, and it's really self-reflecting because those things exist, but they only exist because we create them here by looking at what they're pumping at us. And this is why I'm trying to like change the whole narrative with the little bit that I can do while I got my time here. Like you, like Kev, like so many artists, like Mark. And I got something to tell you about Mark. You're gonna like this, right? I'm embarrass him in a minute. We need to keep doing this. But Mark is actually an author now, published author. So he can tell you about that. Mr. Lee, please.
No problem at all. Yeah, Voice Your Vibe is a book that a friend of mine, Brian Shulman, put out, and all along those lines. So it is a collection of authors that are talking about how during the pandemic we got together and found each other. So my particular chapter is about the whole notion of there are your blood family, the family that you are born into, but then there is the family that is like your spirit brothers and spirit sisters, and I definitely consider you one of those, Nancy. So that is what the whole essay was about. So it is a several hundred word essay that is in that particular book, where I was reflecting on the soul families that I have out there and all along those lines. So that is what my particular chapter is about in the book Voice Your Vibe. And like I said, Brian has written a couple of these multi-author books and everything, but the last one that came out at the first of the year, I was one of the authors featured, and all along those lines. And then just lastly, and this is a separate thing, but it kind of plays into what you were talking about, and I just want to give a shout out because sometimes we forget that people that come from the arts can also wind up in some very major roles, because we just recently had here in Durham, North Carolina, which is where I'm based at, Joshua Gunn, who is a noted hip hop artist. You can look him up and everything along those lines. But he is now going to be the head of the Office of Economic Development. So he'll actually be running the Office of Economic Development. So this is a young brother that's like in his late 20s, early 30s that is now going to be running this Office of Economic Development. He comes from the world of hip hop.
Beautiful.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that myself. But yeah, Mark has been making some strides on the sly, quiet like he is, you know. And even Kevin says he got the best radio voice ever. So
sure does.
He and that still made me mad. I was like, Jesus Christ. But you know, in a good way, Kev knows what I'm talking about, because I always tease him about that, right? But you know, it's nice to see you and talk with you and spend time with you. and really get deep into the next things that you got coming up. So this is the last thing, and then I'm gonna give you the full screen. But what are some things down the line that you can share with young people that want to do kind of like what you do, but may not really be sure, but they know they want to do something in the arts?
Well, if they know they want to do it, the best thing to do is to do it. But I would advise you to really do some soul searching and figure out what it is you want to do it for. Because like I said, when I started out, it was because I wanted to be a star. I wanted to see my name in lights. I wanted to, be somebody. And that came from the trauma of my childhood. You know what I'm saying? I just needed to be a star so I could feel loved and appreciated and recognized. And that was the wrong reason to do that. And it took a lot of deprogramming on my part, which was very painful, very traumatic, having that that Babylon moment as the spirit described it to me. Because when spirit said to me one day, I'm going to take you to Babylon and that's where I'll deliver you. And I was like, why can't you just deliver me here? And as time went on, I began having these experiences. I got the revelation that Babylon is a confrontation with self. Yeah. And a lot of people won't, have that deliverance that they need because they're not willing to look in the mirror and see where they're wrong, where they're falling short. So, once I kind of figured out, where I was off track and why these gifts were placed inside of me and what my purpose was, which is to uplift and help others and to inspire them to do the same thing. If you have that gift, I should be an inspiration and do what I can do to, reach out my hand and lift you up. So number one, know your purpose, know why you were gifted, and then seek wise counsel. A lot of people will see the light in you before you may even see it, and they'll try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Misuse it, abuse it, turn it into something that it was never meant to be. So you have to be very certain, of what it is you want to do, why you want to do it, and, just be guided by, as Zach said, whatever your spiritual belief is, be guided by your ancestors, because they know they've seen the blueprint. They know why you're here for such a time as this. So make sure what you're doing benefits a time such as this.
That's right. Mark, you got any last thoughts or questions for Nancy before I give her the full screen?
No, I think she's covered a lot of things all along those lines. I did just wonder.
We hit every block today, bro.
Yeah, we hit every block and everything.
We hit every one,
thoughts on the legends, because I did mention one of them earlier, but just your reflections on maybe like the Ruby Dees and the Woody Kings of the world and everything like that. So I just wondered your reflections on them, some of them that are still around, because I know Woody's still around, but of course Ruby and Ozzy have passed on. And I remember many years ago when they were still living, that Ozzy actually surprised Ruby as she was doing My One Good Nerve by surprising her on their anniversary date at the Hayti Center, which is the cultural arts center that I work at, everything. So he actually popped up and surprised Ruby as she was doing her one-woman play sponsored by the sorority that she was part of.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've never met Woody King. I admire him tremendously, and I hope that I do get a chance to meet him before one of us transitions. But the Rubies, the Ozzies, the Clarices, the Robert Hooks, those people, I stand on their shoulders because, they laid the foundation for me. And, the song that I referenced at the beginning, one of the lines from that song is, beautiful are the shoulders that we stand upon, resilient and strong are the ones who came before, the one who lit the torch for us. So that's my feelings toward them. And we have to hold the torch, strong, be strong, honor those who've gone before, hold the torch, strong, be strong, we were born to carry on.
That's right. Well said. I'm gonna give you the full screen because you deserve that.
So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today on Funk from the Front Seat. If you're interested in the programming on Black Education Station, you can look us up at www.blackeducationstation.com. It's $10 a month, but well worth the investment in the education of your children's future. Please do watch Dear Mama. Share it with young people. Again, it's available on Tubi. And during the holiday season, I hope that you will join us for the premiere of Christmas Bay, another fun film that I hope you will watch. And just stay tuned because there are a lot of important things on the horizon to uplift, celebrate our community. Again, I thank you for supporting this very important show. And I look forward to funking with y'all from the front seat in the future. One more time. Peace.
Hey, we love you for that, man. We appreciate you. I think I got it right. www.blackeducation.com.
Black Education Station.
Oh, okay, so I'll fix that. Mark, could you fix that in the thing for me? blackeducationstation.com.
Yep.
So we want to thank you, man, and we really appreciate all that you do in the arts. And it's been a pleasure. I know you got to roll out, and I'm gonna, give thanks to a few people that support the show, some sponsors, and today we actually are, figured out how to get Prince's vibe in here to end because it's one of the greatest artists ever. Happy birthday, Prince. So we love you for that. Yeah, man. This dude, there's so many things coming out now, but they always say stuff after a person's gone. But this dude was the dude. That's all you can say. What are you gonna say? He's Prince is one of a kind, and we appreciate his music. Any thoughts on that, brother, before you get out of here?
Listen, I have Money Doesn't Matter on repeat in my office. And I kind of knew when that song was released that there had been a turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, the longer you live, the more you learn and you find out things about the industry that you wish weren't true, but
yeah.
I don't know.
That was a great song, man.
Man, that song did me in.
Yeah.
It did me in, like seriously. He was a genius. I actually, when I was at USC, on my way to dance class, I actually saw him across the street. He and his band were going into this facility across the street from my school at the Shrine Auditorium to rehearse for the Grammys that night. So I almost lost my rabbit mind. I kept my cool, but I was like, oh my God, it's Prince, he was so amazing. Like, I want to say this, but I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but there are just some individuals and their gifts that the world just didn't deserve.
You're right.
And yet and still, we were blessed to have those gifts join us here on earth. So, we need to be more appreciative, when special ones like that show up in our space, because he was a special one.
Yeah, he was. And just to end on that, like you said, some people are just in that realm where they transcend time. Hendrix, the Beatles, Bootsy's still alive doing what he does. Bootsy is doing so much stuff. He's a minister. He's this, that, and the third. That's why he's one of people that kind of I gravitate towards their what he's doing, because I like that pattern of how he just switched it all up and said, well, I don't have to perform, but I can still give you the gift. And of course, the whole funk thing, P-Funk, George, and them, they still doing their thing, but Bob Marley, of course, the Aretha Franklins of the world and Mahalia Jacksons. These people, man, are such a gift to the world when it comes to art. And I'm going to end on that note because you are in that same category. You're a gift to the world when it comes to the art. So I want to thank you. I appreciate you, and I will see you very, very soon.
Very soon, sir.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take
Nancy Marie. What can I say? Okay, JTRP, P-Funk Radio. Shout out to Keith Jackson. And I'm praying for you and your family. Gabe Gonzalez, of course. My dog up in the Funk Chronicles, Funk Hall of Fame. David Webb, thank you for, putting the Nappy Head Funk Army, you little something up in there. And I know you're actually part of the P-Funk family too. Robin Circle of P, of course. Shout out to Sonia Murphy down in Texas. Sending you much love down there. Bootsy and Patty, of course, H Entertainment, Kane and Jams, Tony Cameron, the Funk All Stars, Nappy Head Funk Army, Oak City Music Collective, Cindy K. Lane out in Seattle. I love you, man. Thank you so much. Afterglow 92416, Q&A Entertainment, Brooke Clagett, My Funk Angel, Patricia Dioria, Curtis Wilcox, and George the Funk Vinci. Of course, your artwork is back there. Dr. Brookenstein, I love you. DJ Coccolino in Italy, and DJ Monica in Switzerland, thank you so much, for playing our music, and DJ Elizabeth as well overseas, and we appreciate that. And everybody that's been watching this show, has been an amazing show. We're getting ready to get out of here, and we're going to get out on this note, on a positive thing that we do. And I'm going to show a few little clips before we got about 5 minutes left, so a few shout outs for some people.
What up, everybody? This is Kevin from the Kevin Harrington Experiment, and you're watching Funk from the Front Seat with my brother, Zach, Funky Number 9 Robinson. If you didn't know, now you know.
What's up, Royal Funk fans? This is Lisa Love, a.k.a. Alpha Unk Omega, coming to you from Love's Temple here in Southern California, inviting you to 9 on the Grind, Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson. This is what I want you to do for me. Tune in every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join the meeting of minds. I guarantee soul's growth and high vibrations, not to mention the love. Keep it funky, y'all.
Hey, this is Jen Vanderputten, writer of Code and Prose. You are watching Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Roberson. Tune in every Saturday at noon for excellent and important conversation.
Hey, this is Keith Jackson with P-Funk Radio, inviting you to check out my brother Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat. Saturdays, 12 noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It all happens on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube. Great guest, great conversation each and every Saturday. That's Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Check him out.
It's Peppermint Patty. Hello to everyone, all of our Club Funketeers all around the world. I want to say this to you. You're watching FFTFS on 9 on the Grind TV every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern to 9 a.m. Pacific. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful show it is. And it's with our Club Funketeer, who? Zach. On the 9. Zach is the vice president of the Club Funketeers. So we lift him up every day, and we thank him for keeping the funk alive. All right, go ahead. Let's do it, number 9. Peppermint Patty.
Hey fam, what's goody good? What's really good? My name is Jeff Roberson from the gospel group called Jeff Roberson and New Life. And I'm coming to you from the town that we had to name it twice. It's so nice. New York, New York. And I'm bringing you some news about my brother from another mother, Brother Zach, who's bringing you his hot new show called Funk from the Front Seat. Listen, he's bringing you funk from the vault, from the past, from the present, and into the future. He's got that music that makes the hair on the back of your neck rise up. He's bringing you funk all the way down to your toes. This is that funk that makes you really want to groove. Stay tuned. Don't touch that dial as he brings you funk from the front seat. Listen, let's go.
Yo, you know the deal. My purple for my dog. You know, this has been a great show. I appreciate you guys. Mark and I will see you next week with Linda Scheider. Yeah, she'll be on. And then later down the line, like I said, Cindy's coming on and she's bringing some very special guests. You guys take care of yourself. I'll see you real soon. And remember, always, funk, not fight. Let's unite. Let's get out of here, Mark. Boom.